Right, I'm here with Joe Gallagher. Joe, how you doing?
Not so bad, mate. You? Good to see you, Johnny.
Good to see you, mate. Right, okay. The stable of fighters you've got at the moment. Now, it's fair to say you've had a transitional period from what Crollis, Callum Smith, Liam Smith, all those fighters. Now you've got the new generation, as you call them. Talking about going to America, Freddie Roach, and just tell me a little bit about what you just told me then off camera. Like, why is it beneficial for your fighters to go to America? Is it styles? What do you think of it?
No, I think it was that time when we used to go over to the wild card quite regular. It was kids were on the verge of fighting for titles, and I wanted to see what they were in a different environment and take them out of the comfort zone. So we go to the wild card. Liam Smith was going and sparring Lucky Boy, and Crollo was sparring Ray Beltram. Scott Quigg was sparring with everyone. Callum Smith was sparring, Scotty Cardle. So it was just for me to see what it was like outside the comfort zone, and to see then when opportunities presented, did they have that little bit of a backbone, and they did do, and it was proven then years later when they were all in the big fights. They had that, and obviously going over again to America this year is for the likes of Clark Smith, Callum Thompson, Mark Heffron, them type of kids now to see and take them out of the comfort zone and give them that experience.
So we're talking about Mark Heffron. We were saying his style it's made for America. Tough, fights well. You can imagine him in New York, that kind of style. Do you think that'll ever happen? Do you think that's something? Do you think that's a road you want to go down?
I mean, listen, I think Mark has he's got a lot of talent. He's learning all the time. He reminds me a little bit of a John Dudder, and I think he's got a fan-friendly style. As you see in today's sparring, we're working on different things, and he's at an age now, like you say, he needs to move on and get involved in big fights. He's got a killer smile, good-looking kid, can fight, can punch, and it'd be great to get him over there in the mix with them big fights like a Callum Truax or Gabe Rosado. Yeah, just them type of fights. I just think Mark, he's got a big fight coming up now, but if we can come through that, I think the sky's the limit for him.
I think David Lemoo's another good shout.
David Lemoo's a good fight, but like I say, we can't take our eye off the ball first. But there's huge potential still for Mark Heffron.
And congrats on Paul Butler being elevated to a full championship. Another championship for your gym. It's a conveyor belt, isn't it? It's non-stop. Where does that come from now? Where does that winning mentality? Because I've got to be honest with you, I've seen you a few times the last few months, and I've spoken with you in depth a few times, and the mentality it's a winner's mentality. Where does that come from every single day? Do you not think sometimes, I fucking have enough of this? Or is it just...
Scotty Cardle used to say to me, Joe, put the gloves down. Even went out for a meal, we'd be talking boxing, Scotty go, Joe, put the gloves down, will you? Come on. Are you getting involved, as Scotty Cardle used to say. No, I don't know. I just think it's because I feel sometimes the fighters don't get the credit they deserve. I feel people write them off before they're giving them a chance. And it's just a case of, like it's always about siege mentality. I think all good leaders in sport, whether it be Ferguson, Mourinho, Klopp, that's their mentality. Do you know what I mean? Freddie Roach, Emmanuel Stewart, on the road, we always had to get the knockout. You need that mentality. No one's got to do anything for you. You're in there, and it's a dog-eat-dog sport. But all I ask of them is that they give it the best, and that's all. And then you can sleep easy at night. There's nothing worse than not giving it the best and missing out an opportunity and then kicking yourselves. And I always say to the fighters, just remember back to amateur fights, and you didn't really train hard. You fought, and you got beat. You thought, oh my God, how did I lose to him? Shit, and you try and get the rematch. You never got it because they know they had it off that night, and it sits with you. So it's the same as the professionals. You've got to be ready and on it. And the amount of times you're in the gym, the kids are in the gym. They're not far over the weight. And like I say, when you say the next generation, when you talk about Paul Butler, Natasha Jonas, and Callum Johnson, I think the drive was more so for them, because people talked as though they didn't exist when they spoke about the stable. And it was unfortunate Callum Johnson didn't get his world title shot, got COVID before he flew out to fight Joe Smith. But with Natasha winning a world title this year and Paul Butler at the age of 33 and Natasha 37, I'm really happy because people had written them off.
Yeah, no, massively. So being in the gym, you can see there's no egos, right? Is that an important trait for you? Because sometimes you go to some gym, you have the Castle and everyone else.
Everyone say to me, who's the jewel in the crown? I don't have a jewel in the crown. I have a crown full of jewels.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Everyone is just as important to me as each one. Everyone gets the time, whether you're Clark Smith making his debut, Callum Thompson, or Natasha, or Callum Johnson, they're all treated the same. And that's it. When you go to work, there's no entourage. Like I always say, if your parents are working in a petrol station, or working for BT, or working for the Inland Revenue, you don't bring your mates in. This is work. This is a shop floor, and we're coming into work and put kids on the production line.
Yeah. So with Paul Butler, I mentioned this before. There was talk of him being mandated to fight Casimero. I don't understand how. First of all, that can be.
From what I understand, is it is number one, but it isn't mandatory. He's in the number one position, and that's it. And just to touch, Paul Butler, Liverpool's first ever two-time.
History in the making.
World champion, which is an unbelievable achievement. IBF and WBO, the four governing bodies. No one ever's done that in the history of Liverpool sport before. So I'm really pleased for Paul Butler for that. And listen, I've told Paul just to go away and enjoy being a world champion now. His team that he manages, Sunday League Football, they won the title as well. And I'm sure he'll be in the snooker and pool halls hustling for money, because Paul's quite good at that. So he's one of them at school that was a sport biller. Him and Liam Smith are very similar. So
really?
They play football, play snooker, play pool, play tennis, whatever it is. They're good
tennis, I'll smash anyone in your gym at tennis.
Apart from swimming, they're both not that good at that.
No, swimming. Can you play tennis?
Not as good.
Can you play any? What's your best sport? Golf?
I used to be all right at football, but
what position?
I always used to play on the wing.
A bit of an out, George Best.
I used to think it was Steve Coppell or Gordon Hill. That's who or then it was Zico from Brazil. Everyone forgets about him. He was a class striker.
Yeah, I remember him. So going on to Paul Butler, just going back quickly. Massive undisputed fight coming up with Dinair and Inoue. I forget him. Yeah, that's a fight. That must be something you're looking at. That's mega big fight. I mean, has it come in your mind? I know.
Well, listen, it's obviously got to come in your mind when you see the big fight there. It's happening at the beginning of June in Japan, and the first fight was a brilliant fight. Just as a fan, can't wait to tune in and watch that. I think Dinair is a brilliant fighter. Him and Chocolita, one of my two favourite fighters, one of the best fighters, two of the best fighters of this era, and I really enjoy watching them. So yeah, we've got to watch that. And then if the phone goes and they fancy a unification fight, I'm sure we'll sit down and we'll talk and we'll do what's best for Paul Butler.
What is that process like? Because take it back last year with Paul Butler. Or how long has he been with you now?
6 years.
So he's been with you, so take it back 3 years then. And you probably didn't have the phone calls that were coming when he was champion. Now he is champion again. What's it like, that feeling? The cards are in your...
Listen, Paul, it's been a long road back. Once he lost to Rodriguez, he fought on my shows, my small hall shows, fought Steve Woods. He was a reserve in the World Boxing Super Series. But I said to him, you just got to keep active, keep at the weight, keep the ratings, get your position high, and opportunity will come knocking, and it did. And listen, it was unfortunate with Casimero. We prepared twice for him. It didn't happen. But then I think not enough credit is given to Paul Butler that he turned up to fight Casimero, one of the best fighters going. He failed weight, but then to step in with someone who beat Casimero, not Pudding, but Sultan Jones, it's like, that's unheard of, a 48 hours notice. And he had noticed he was training in America for 8 weeks.
Full camp,
and they came prepared to beat Paul Butler. So I don't think there's many fighters today that would turn up at the scales to fight a world champion and then fight someone who's beat that world champion at 48 hours notice. So full credit to Paul Butler for that.
Fight this weekend, Canelo and Bivol. You're going to be watching. I can imagine you to watch every fight that's on. Is that?
No, not necessarily. I'll only watch fights that are on my fighter's radar, or because I'm too busy watching opponents or sparring partners. But the big fights, Canelo, Bivol, I'll watch that. Obviously, got Callum Johnson, so I'll take an interest in that. But like I said in the gym today, I wouldn't be surprised if I woke up Sunday morning and heard Bivol's won on a split decision.
Oh, split decision? No way.
I think it's a very interesting fight.
Yeah.
It depends how Bivol holds his nerve on the big stage. He's a very good fighter, very good operator, and does basics very good. Got good feet movement. It's just when Canelo comes and he starts landing, when Bivol, as you've seen of the last couple of fights, once they start engaging with him, it's their undoing. With Callum, Plant, Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders did well at times in that fight.
Yeah, he does.
But it's just sustaining it and then punching with enough authority against Canelo and landing that you've got to register on the scorecards. We've seen Triple G land some great shots and still didn't get decisions in them fights. So it's an interesting fight. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
How do you develop a game plan to beat Canelo? Like, what would you say the best way?
Well, the 2 times we did, Liam Smith had a cut early on in camp, so he never sparred for Canelo. And I thought, if you look back at a lot of Canelo's performances, Liam Smith was one of the best performances. Yeah. Callum Smith, I'm still annoyed to today and bitter about it because I didn't have the best Callum Smith that night. We had 4 or 5 weeks notice. We were in lockdown. We couldn't get sparring partners in, and that was it. Callum had an ear infection. I think we did 5 spars, and it was putting us a 4 or 5 weeks notice. And Callum didn't fight the fight I wanted him to. I wanted him to go out there and be more of a Gerald McClellan style on the front foot and engage with Canelo early on and let him feel shots and drag him into it. So I feel Callum Smith didn't give a true reflection of himself that night, although he did well and went the distance. Yeah. But there's a blueprint there. Mayweather proved it, but you got to take nothing away from Canelo. He learned from that mistake. He's done really well, and you've got to give credit that he's gone through the weight divisions and he's taken on Bivol. He's not fighting an old Bivol, he's fighting a good Bivol, an informed Bivol, and then after that, emotional will fight Beterbiev, and that's another exciting fight. And as you've seen, there's been talk of Usyk. So sometimes I think Canelo isn't one to take his eye off the ball, but if there's ever a chance that he may do off, maybe this fight.
You think so, yeah?
I'm not thinking, I'm just saying sometimes complacency does kick in at some point in a fighter's career. You've seen it with all the greats.
Is it Bitter? I can't pronounce his name.
Beterbiev, yeah. Tomato.
Joe Smith Jr. With Callum Johnson, that fight got was COVID, didn't he?
Yeah, COVID. We were due to fly on the Friday and got COVID on the Tuesday.
Nightmare, absolute nightmare. Joe Smith and Beterbiev, what do you think is going to happen? I think that's a guaranteed war.
It is, but I just think Beterbiev's the bigger puncher. I thought he'd beat the better opposition. I think Joe Smith is a great scorer, hard-working fella. You can't help but take a shine to him. He's a nice kid. He's out there. He's working with his dad, and he's making the most of it. And he deserves his moment in the spotlight. He had COVID himself a year ago. I think his last fight, it showed he still hadn't fully recovered. But hopefully the break now, there'll be all eyes will be thinking we'll win this. We get the big payday with Canelo, and for Beterbiev, I think he's a phenomenal puncher, and I think that could be the difference in the fight.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I can't wait to watch it. But Callum Johnson will be looking at that, won't he?
Yeah, Callum Johnson will look at Anthony Yarde's in a position to be mandatory. So, we'll just have to see. Callum Johnson's got to have a fight, come back and get himself in the mix.
How can we get these British fighters? Because a lot of them in the light heavyweight division. I know Buatsi and Richards.
Craig Richards is a great fight, great London fight. I think the winner of that will be knocking on the door of a world title fight, or the winner of that will fight Callum Smith, because that's an in-house fight that can be made. The light heavyweight division is quite good. Lyndon Arthur, what he comes back and does as well, do you understand? Shaquem Peters, there's some good fights. Dan Aziz, I like Dan Aziz. There's some good fighters in that light heavyweight division, some exciting fights to be made.
But how can we get the fights made with the British fighters? Why can't... So... Yeah, literally 2 minutes. You'll have to stay here, mate. Don't worry, leave me alone. So, how can we get those fights made? Because I know it's promotional things and all that, but those are barnstormers. Callum Johnson against any of them. Yard, what a fight that would be.
Money talks. No fighter doesn't want to fight any fighter, but it's no different than being a scaffolder or working on a house. You've got to get paid a job to tile a council house property, that sort of thing. But if you're going to be asked then to go and tile Buckingham Palace, it's a different amount of money. You can't be asking kids to be paid the same money to tile a council 3-bed house as you're going to do Buckingham Palace. So no fighters don't want to fight no one. They all want to fight. But it's prize fighting. The reward has got to be worth the risk. And as you've seen at the weekend, Katie Taylor-Serrano, they didn't go in there and fight for 10 grand each, did they?
No.
So there you go, the fights are there, the appetite's there for them, they just need the money putting up for them.
Yeah, I mentioned this before. The fight I want to see is Natasha Jonas and Serrano. I want to see that fight. I know it's different ways and that, but that's a barnstorm of a fight. I think Natasha Jonas, for me, still doesn't get the credit she deserves.
No, well, listen, there's sometimes there's an appetite to talk about some people and others to do, but Natasha's world champion. Yeah. She's at ease now, and she's been an Olympian and a world champion, and that's great for her. And she's in the new Liverpool Football Club advert for the new kit, so that's just a good winning for world title for Natasha. That is. So yeah, she's a dream girl.
Tell me about when we said the next generation. So if we're looking around here, we've got the old generation on there. We've got the new guard. Tell me about the fighters that people might not have seen, the Clark Smith and these fighters.
Clark Smith is making his debut in September, good fighter. Callum Thompson with Frank Warren, he's doing really well. Like I say, Marquez Sean Yaxley, 10-0 from Wrexham, he's doing really well at the moment as well, ready to push on. So yeah, there's some good kids. Obviously Butler, Tasha have just won, Marcus Morrison looking for a British title shot. So yeah, there's kids coming through.
Yeah, I know you might not like to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. For me, I don't think you get the credit you deserve. I say it a lot on my social media. Just from take away personality, anything like that, achievements, right? We all know Brendan Ingham, what a great trainer he was, the accolades. But when we're talking world titles, we're talking British titles, we're talking Commonwealth belts, we're talking Ring Magazine belts, we're talking Ali trophies. You're the man for me.
I wouldn't say I'm the man. The fighters win. I'm just, as Freddie Roach or Emmanuel Stewart or Angelo and Dundee, I just help cook the recipe and bring it to the boil and let them go out there and achieve what I know they're always capable of. Having that confidence and that belief that they can go in there and fulfil the dreams, whether they be schoolboy champions, ABA champions, British, Central Area, Commonwealth, as you said, world. So yeah, I'm just being very fortunate to work with a lot of good prospects, fighters and people who want the dream as bad as what I do.
Well, could you imagine it 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, you would say Joe Gallagher in 2022, right? All the achievements. I know you say it's about the fighters and all that, but I'm a firm believer it comes from the trainer. You can fight, yeah, it has to come. The fighter has to have the ability, but the trainer. I'm a big thing with the trainer leads the ship. Like you say, Ferguson before management. Would you ever have envisioned?
I get asked all the time, I never set out to go, right, I'm going to do this, this and this. I set out, I want John Murray to be British champion. I want Macklin to be world champion. I want Callum Smith to win the World Box Super Series. That's it. There's always a saying, never follow the money, or you're going to get the titles. With the titles comes everything else. And my finger was always to Scott Cardle, British champion, Quigg, British, Crawler, world champion. That was always my goal. It was never anything to do, I won't win this, I want that. It was always about fighters achieving. Yeah. And because you're too in the moment, you don't have time to sit back and look and think about whatever's going on. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to be acknowledged and appreciated by your fellow peers, but I'm not paid to win awards. I'm paid to win fights. Fighters pay me to win fights, help them win fights, and that's what my job is.
Okay, Joe, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for your time.
Cheers.
All right.